Princess Yue is a blue 3-mana 3/2. She can tap to let us scry 2, and when she dies, she returns to the battlefield tapped as a land called Moon. This land taps for colorless mana and has no other abilities. This right here is the most interesting commander released last year. I understand that is probably a bit of a strange statement. Princess Yue seems really simple, a card clearly designed for a jumpstart, a beginner product. But Princess Yue is actually a ruling's nightmare, perfect for players that get a lot of enjoyment out of the intricacies of Magic. Princess Yue's quirks revolve around clone cards, cards that enter as a copy of another creature. They need to be specific clones though. They have to be an actual permanent card, not a token. They need to not circumvent the legend rule. They need to let us clone our own creatures, and they should be unconditional. Right of Replication doesn't work because it makes tokens. Spark Double doesn't because it circumvents the legend rule. Malleable Imposter doesn't because it only lets us clone our opponent's stuff. And Mockingbird can work, but is really limited and unlikely to get us the desired result because it's conditional. Clone, just basic clone, is our ideal. Imagine the following. We control Princess Yue, and one of our opponents has the Unagi of Kyoshi Island. We cast Clone. When Clone enters, it lets us choose a creature for it to enter as, and we choose Princess Yue. This annoys the game, because it results in us controlling 2 legendary Princess Yue, and it demands that we sacrifice one of them. We sacrifice the Clone Yue. The Clone Yue then dies, and this triggers her reanimation ability, which returns her to the battlefield as a land called Moon. During this process, Clone Yue touches the graveyard, which resets and clears the clone. Clone then returns to the battlefield as Moon. However, it's also still Clone and currently entering the battlefield, so Clone asks us if we want it to enter as a copy of a creature. This time, we choose the Unagi of Kyoshi Island. Our Moon is now a copy of the Unagi of Kyoshi Island. It also remains only a land, not a creature. We have imprinted the Unagi's abilities onto a land, and from now on, whenever an opponent draws their second card for the turn, we draw 2 cards. Princess Yue allows us to turn creatures into lands. This isn't just a gimmick. I mean, it is a gimmick, but there are real benefits to going through these steps. Lands are resilient. Most decks only play very limited land removal, so if we imprint something good onto a land, we can be almost certain it'll stick around for the rest of the game. This significantly aids one of the biggest problems that cloning strategies have as an archetype. They are a step behind by design, requiring cloning targets before getting on the board. That in of itself is fine, because clones also tend to be cheaper than what they are copying. But the problem comes in when dealing with sweepers. Cloning decks struggle at recovering from empty board states in the mid to late game, where giving up the initiative comes at a much greater cost. Princess Yue fixes this by ensuring the value engines we copy stick around regardless of interaction. It's also worth mentioning that this is ramp. The Unagi Moon is still just a land. We can tap it for mana and use that mana to cast spells, which opens up a lot of deck space because we don't really need ramp. Now, as you might expect, this is a ruling's nightmare. Here are 2 common scenarios that you will need to know about. Number 1. The imprinted moon retains the super types of the target, meaning it can be legendary. It is, however, also always called Moon. So if we have a legendary Moon already and we then try to imprint another legendary creature, we end up with 2 legendary permanents called Moon, and we have to sacrifice one of them. If we have the Unagi as a Moon and then we make a copy of, let's say, Vinota, then we only get to keep one of those 2 around. We are capped at 1 legendary Moon. But this also allows us to have 2 copies of one of our legendary creatures. We could, for example, have a regular Unagi on the board and then a Moon Unagi as a land, because that one wouldn't actually be called Unagi, it's the Moon. Number 2. If we use a card like Vesuva or Copyland to create a copy of a moon, it will enter as a copy of the non-land version of that moon. So if we have an Unagi moon and then Vesuva it, we get an Unagi, the creature, not the moon. The same is true for all copy land effects. They recreate the original rather than a land version. This means we can store creatures in lands and then later use those lands to resummon those creatures out of them. My favorite way to abuse this is Mirror Form, a 6-mana instant that turns all of our non-land permanents into a copy of target non-aura permanent. We can store a nasty creature in a land and then, at instant speed, transform all of our permanents into that creature. Yeah, this is all a bunch of nonsense, but that nonsense is why Princess Yue is great fun. I play against precons rather often, and that was a bit of a problem for me, because precons are kinda stinky and usually piloted by inexperienced players, so even if I played my slowest decks, there could still be too much, and overall it just wasn't really all that much fun. I could have just gotten myself a precon as well, but I don't like playing those. I needed something that would scale with the pot, so a cloning deck was a natural fit, and Princess Yue especially because I find all her rules nonsense quite entertaining to navigate. So long as I'm playing Princess Yue, even if the game on the whole isn't particularly exciting, I can still have a good time. With that in mind, I built my personal Princess Yue deck to be quite low powered, with minimal payoffs of my own, so I have to assemble something from the tools given to me by my opponents. Again, keep in mind, I wanted to be able to play against precons. But this commander can also have some pretty nasty juice of her own, and I think you all might be interested in that. So I built 2 separate decks for today. The first, €50 budget-friendly, precon-friendly Bracket 2 version, and the other powered up for Bracket 3. It's also not budget, it's a little expensive. The main difference between the decks is the quality and quantity of our interaction, as well as the power of our own threats. But the core stays the same across both lists, and they share a lot of the same cards. Beginning with a whole bunch of clones. As already mentioned, we want unrestricted clones that still obey the legend rule. Clone is the baseline here. Gigantoplasm, Copycrook, Naga Fleshcrafter, these are all effectively the same. Unfortunately, there aren't enough 4-mana clones, so we also play a handful of 5-mana ones: Vesuvian Shapeshifter, Synth Infiltrator, Omni Changeling. Our best clones are either cheaper than that, like Phantasmal Image and Phyrexian Metamorph, or come with another upside, like how Clever Impersonator lets us imprint any non-land permanent, or Stunt Double letting us wait out our opponent's turn before taking action. On the whole, both decks play 18 clones. I found that to be enough that we always have one available, but not so many that we get flooded. Alongside our clones, we want to play a handful of our own cloning targets. Yeah, a lot of the fun of this deck stems from utilizing our opponent's cards to create unique scenarios, but it's also usually good to ensure that we just have something on the board that's worth cloning. Otherwise, we might end up with a bunch of clones in hand, but nothing we actually want to copy. There's a bit of a range of good mooning targets. My favorite ones have abilities that trigger when we tap or untap that permanent. Scaretiller is a 4-mana creature that when it gets tapped, lets us put a land from our hand or graveyard onto the battlefield tapped. If we turn Scaretiller into a moon, we create a land that ramps whenever we use it. And Fallow Sage is a 4-mana creature that draws a card whenever we tap it. A land that draws a card whenever we use it. Can you even imagine anything more beautiful? Well, I can, because there's also Arbiter of the Ideal, which is a 6-mana 4/5 for flying that whenever it becomes untapped, we reveal the top card of our library, and if it's an artifact, creature, or land, we can put it directly onto the battlefield. This effect on a land is, oh man, I love it. I love it. This is so cool. This is so cool. Painting card draw onto our moons is a great way to build reliable advantage over the course of a game. Since we're monocolor, we can safely play Zenith Chronicler, a 2-mana free one that whenever a player casts a multicolored spell draws each other player a card. River Kelpie, a 5-mana free with Persist that lets us draw a card whenever it or another permanent enters or a spell is cast from a graveyard, turns all of our clones into a guaranteed draw because they always touch the graveyard before becoming moons. And a Scrolling Crawler, a 3-mana 3/2 that draws each player a card during our upkeep, but also has our opponents lose 1 life whenever they draw a card, is a great target for getting cloned multiple times. Scrolling Crawler is a bit of a boogeyman in my friend group. Like, it's just a small card draw engine, but it also just kind of usually deals between 15 to 30 damage a game. And in this deck, one of our strongest and funniest win cons is just setting up a free Scrolling Crawler Moons, and then we play defense while our opponents bleed to death. For the Bracket 2 version, that is about as mean as it gets. Our other moon targets are mostly harmless token makers like Mischievous Mystic and Pestered Velguard. The goal of these isn't to create some kind of insurmountable army of 1/1 flyers, but rather just to have something on the board that we can use to defend ourselves with. Shadow Puppeteers, Ulamog's Dreadsire, and Sphinx of the Second Sun are our top end here. Really quite harmless stuff. Keep in mind that our goal is to utilize our opponent's cards to push for a win, rather than our own. The Bracket 3 version, however, fights a bit nastier. Abhorrent Oculus creates a token during every player's upkeep, which very quickly builds a sizable army. Grappling Kraken and Royal Elemental are both creatures with landfall abilities. Grappling Kraken stuns a creature, while Royal Elemental steals it. We can trigger both twice a turn with ease, and as you might imagine, multiple of these are a quick path to victory. So is the classic Hullbreaker Horror, which fights through any board even without the need for a combo. Another card I thoroughly enjoy is Glen Elendra Archmage. Glen Elendra Archmage is a 4-mana 2/2 with flying and persist. For 1 blue, we can sacrifice it to counter target non-creature spell. Imagine the following. We have Glen Elendra Archmage in play and make a moon copy of it. The Glen Elendra Moon retains all abilities, including the sacrifice and persist. We wait for our opponents to cast a non-creature spell, and then sacrifice the moon to counter it. This triggers persist, returning the moon to the battlefield. However, keep in mind that all of our moons are originally clones, so we can now have it enter as something else again. We choose Princess Yue. The clone dies and returns as a moon, at which point we imprint our Glen Elendra Archmage again. During this process, our clone left the battlefield again, which means our new Glen Elendra Moon enters without any -1/-1 counters. Its persist ability is active again. A Glen Elendra Moon can effectively lock our opponents out of casting non-creature spells. Well, to a certain extent. We can only do it once at a time, and it requires a mana, but it's still pretty nasty. The rest of the deck are a bunch of nice utility creatures and some big and small interaction. I also leaned a bit into Scry synergies, with Planetarium of Wan Shi Tong, Matoya Archon Elder, and the Temporal Anchor. We haven't talked about this yet, but Princess Yue lets us Scry 2 every turn at no cost. And this is really nice. It drastically increases the quality of our draws. Even though our strategy is weird and a little clunky, thanks to Princess Yue, we can pursue it with a high level of efficiency. I really want to stress this point, getting to Scry 2 every turn is so good. Now, you might have noticed that this deck is quite reliant on its command. So what do we do if she just gets targeted? Well, we're blue, so we counterspell that. But honestly, this just hasn't happened to me. If you compare Princess Yue to the other stuff running around, to your Ashlings of the world, she's not very impressive. She represents no immediate threat, and even if she were to get targeted out, we can just use our clones as clones. But more often than not, Princess Yue is left alone to do her thing. You can find a link to the Bracket 2 version of the deck in the description. I also got some gameplay for you all. I played a match with this deck on Magic the Gathering Online in a Bracket 3 pod, so it's using the Bracket 3 version. The Bracket 3 list is up on my Patreon, link to that also in the description. I greatly appreciate your support, and if you subscribe over on Patreon, you get access to the Bracket 3 Princess Yue list, as well as all of the other decks that I've built. The gameplay this time around ended up being loads of fun, so I hope you enjoy it. Oh, and if you enjoyed the video so far, please give it a thumbs up. Is this a keep? I think it is a keep. I don't like that I only have 2 lands. 2 lands feels bad, but I do think having Malcolm and Ledger Shredder to fix fix our draws is very good. As long as Kosei's Enchanted Crypt has a count on it, deals combat damage to a player. Well, this is a bit pointless for me. But this one is good, right? Okay, so there's at least one card, one commander that we like imprinting. Oh, we're good. We drew a land. I also like having Planetarium of Manjitong. The Planetarium is actually one of the best cards. Maybe best is a strong word. It's like one of the most immediately impactful cards in the deck because we can trigger it twice per turn rotation, and that's just kind of busted. Holy fuck, what's going on over there? Now here's the question, what's better, Malcolm or Ledger Shredder? Probably Malcolm, right? But Ledger Shredder gives us like an imprintable thing right away, and that green player is gonna cast 2 spells. And we don't actually, I think actually it's the Ledger Shredder right now. Look at this. Let's go ahead and connive. I think we can toss our land. With UA, we're gonna be scrying and whatnot, and also we're probably gonna be conniving again right here. Why are you playing Sylvan Safekeeper? Is this a land stack? Sylvan Division? That's probably like my worst card in hand right now. Just ditch that. We get a counter. I'm pretty happy with my choice of playing Ledger Shredder. Oh, I am so Ledger Shredder pilled, by the way. That's my newest thing. I saw somebody on Card Market that had like 3 Ledger Shredders for like $2 below market value. And I'm like, I immediately bought all 3. And now all of my decks have Ledger Shredders. Like I'm just shredding Ledgers left and right. And there's nothing that gives me more delight than that. Vexing Bauble. Oh, wow. Also, literally every single player double spells. So like the Ledger Shredder is fucking money. We're not getting to cast Malcolm here. I don't think so. Let's get rid of Malcolm. All right, let's just play UA. And then we can upkeep Scry if we need to. All right, so there's the dragon. I honestly think this is coming for the green player, right? Am I not just immune to this? Like, do you think this player is ever gonna choose blue? All right, we're making a big boy. Did you tap your flyer? I mean, you gotta keep a flyer open, otherwise the dragon hits you and bounces green stuff. And you're dead, right? I do think this is kind of fun, right? Like, you have to go through all of these steps. I don't know, I like that. That's endearing to me. Snake Umbra. Oh, nice, we get to connive. Probably connive the River Kelpie away. All right, we got a land, so that's good. I mean, River Kelpie is a lot of card draw, but we have the Planetarium. So the Planetarium makes me just kind of like not so worried about that. Oh, hell yeah, I got a target. I was gonna just copy the Ledger Shredder, but that works. Do I Naga Fleshcrafter right now? I can save the stunt double for later. I think I'd do that. I think that's the plan here. Copy the UA. Choose this one to keep. This UA dies. No response. She comes back in. Choose this. And we've got a moon. So that's good. Do I keep a blocker? Or do I attack? I think I attack and I goad. Or I goad this one. But this one is getting bounced. Alright, I'm attacking, I'm goading. I think that's fine. Because I think there's gonna be some major interaction happening here. I just don't want to get hit by a 6/6 dragon, if I'm completely honest. So we lose, we draw some cards. We got a land again, that's very handy. And that's my situation. Yeah, I think that's the strategy, that's the styles. Alright, this one is coming over there. So we draw some cards. Like, this effect is just gonna be permanent. Like, it's always going on. I mean, I'm gonna scry with UA, with the trigger on the stack. Because, like, I feel like there's a chance that shit gets bounced. We'll put this on the bottom, we'll keep this on top. I mean, I'm guessing that we're choosing green right now. So everything is black. So this guy is just gonna bounce everything. Is that the plan? Is that just a strategy? Just, like, infinitely bounce stuff? So not kind of a waste of time. Hey. God, I love Ledger Shredder. Consphinx. What am I even gonna do with that? Should probably keep it. Keep it for the moment. Change the text of target spell permanent by replacing all instances of one color word with another. Oh, and now? Wait, okay, so I'm just like giga confused. Why does it matter if this is a different word? So everything is red now? I don't get it. I'm confused. We're keeping this Glasspool Mimic for a little while because we can maybe use it to duplicate the Consecrated Sphinx. And if we manage to get a land Consecrated Sphinx, we have infinite mana. Infinite cards, so infinite card draw. Okay, so we've gone through quite a bit of trouble to make all creatures red. And I don't understand why. I guess that's the situation. All right, give me Alexios. Gimme. Now I don't even have to attack with Ledger Shredder to trigger my moon. Oh, I have so many cards in hand. This is stupid. Okay. Is there anything on the board right now that I'm like particularly keen on? Not really. I think I would rather keep like Reality Shift open. So I'm gonna attack with Alexios. All right, whenever you attack a player, tap target creature. Yeah, I guess I'm just tapping this red Birds of Paradise. Oh, I have too many cards in hand. Oh, what did I do? We could just use our clones as clones instead of using them as weird lands. And just make another Alexios so people can like murder each other. But like, I feel like the problem there is it's all gonna get bounced, right? And I think we're trying to play around the bounce. I'm gonna make a Ledger Shredder. Yeah. Let's just make a Ledger Shredder, right? I just want to ramp is also a big factor here. All right, so we have a Ledger Shredder there. We have a Ledger Shredder in play. All right, there's Alexios. I guess this is why I wanted to keep the Ledger Shredder back, because right now Ledger Shredder is actually big enough to block Alexios. I am so Ledger Shredder pilled right now. It is crazy. Also, this land currently has 2 separate connive triggers, so it can get +1/+1 counters, which we cannot use. But who knows? Maybe we could figure something out. This deck is so whack. This deck is so stupid. But that's the beauty, right? Like, does any of it make sense? No. Can we somehow use it to piece together a win? Sometimes, yeah. And isn't that beautiful? Hunting trade. When this creature's enters, put target red or green creature on top of its owner's library. So that's why everything is red now. I think this is bouncing my Ledger Shredder. I think let's just let it happen. Yeah, so it's bouncing the Ledger Shredder, but I'm just gonna say I'm okay with that. We'll see where the attacks go. Oh, both to me. Well, I don't like that. Do I care about this dragon? There's not enough mana to use it right now. I think I'll get rid of Alexios. I feel what I just did may have been a mistake. Maybe I should have just countered the Hunting Drake. I was kind of giving my opponents an opportunity to misplay, which is not always the right thing to do, right? But that was kind of the idea. All right, we took 6. All right, there are a lot of shenanigans going on. And is this manifest also red? It doesn't say so. I'm so confused. This deck over here is going through 16 million steps for really just like basically no benefit. Yeah, I'll take the moon trigger. I don't know what we're getting rid of. I kind of want to play the Ledger Shredder again. Probably too late for the Ledger Shredder now, especially since we've got a second one. It's just a moon, right? But like, it's probably too late for the Ledger Shredder at this point. Swiftfoot Boots, okay. And a Bolt. Where's this one coming from? From the fucking cheap seats. Crazy. Deadly Rollick. Oh, double. Okay. Sure. I'll Ledger Shredder again. Fucking base Ledger Shredder. There's a land. I do want a land. Are we gonna find a land? I don't think we need another clone. I think we have too many clones right now. Also, I do want to make sure that, of course, I have as many +1/+1 counters on my moon as possible. Gotta make sure that we have all of them +1/+1 counters. Oh, man. Untimely malfunction on the Swiftfoot Boots. Well, this guy is just like removal.deck as well, isn't he? Okay, well, I'm gonna keep Ledger Shreddering. Them Ledgers are gonna be shredded. But that's, by the way, that's one of the really, really cool things about this deck. It's like our opponents are using a lot of removal on each other, but they don't really have any for us. Because the advantage we're building is in the form of lands. They just can't really get rid of these moons. So we are fine. There's, of course, the disadvantage that they will probably just hit us. Or not. I guess not. I guess we're fine. Yeah, they probably want the card draw from my moon. Nice deck, buddy. It is now mine. Okay, let's scry really quick. This is so nice, just having a scry. Ooh, how are we feeling about Abhorrent Oculus right now instead of Planetarium? That got to be better, right? We don't really play any recursion, so I don't care what we are eating. All right, so we have 2 Abhorrent Oculuses. One of them is a moon, one of them is a creature. And we are about to just kind of manifest our entire deck into play. Yup. Sorry, friends. We're about to have a lot of creatures. I am a little worried that this isn't going to kill people. And that we're just going to kind of draw ourselves or mill ourselves to death. But if that's what happens, then that's a death I am delighted to die. Red creatures don't untap. Oh, you can go fuck yourself. Like, I'm sorry. It's just like, let us fucking play the game. I'm just like, see, this is why I'm kind of glad I kept my counterspell. Because, like, it's not even that this is particularly good. It's just incredibly annoying. So, no thank you. I would like my creatures to be able to exist. This one we might want to flip around. Because we can start stunning our opponent's stuff. Who knows? Maybe we make a Kraken. Maybe we make a Kraken. Maybe we just turn our Thespian stage into another Abhorrent Oculus. Does the chat have any opinions on this? Do you see the text up there? Wait, he's Karasicar. Lad, I looked away for 5 seconds. Why is he the moon? How does that work? Yeah, that sounds about right. He's indeed a moon. So this is where we get to kind of the slightly difficult part, which is that we actually need to kill people. Hey, we get the Ledger Shredder again. Got a counterspell in hand, got a second counterspell. Do we need 2? Probably not. Do we play the Consecrated Sphinx? We're gonna go through our deck so fucking quickly. But honestly, if I die because I drew too many cards, then I die happily. Wait, we're fighting? My Oculus is gonna die. Well, rest in peace. No, it didn't die, right? Because it's not combat damage. Fighting isn't combat. Right. Magic is a nightmare. Fighting isn't combat. Karasicar is the moon. Black is red. Oh, what is this game? MTG Goldfish did an episode recently where they did, like rule nightmare decks. And I get that just by randomly queuing into MTGO. You know, I just literally joined the first game available. And this is what I end up with. But honestly, that's delightful. These two guys right here can get so much card draw from us. That's so funny. This guy has 12 cards in hand. Hey, we get to manifest a little more. So the Grappling Kraken is pretty nasty. We have a lot of mana. But I gotta keep Counter Magic open. Because like we're in a really good position right now. All right, let's just shred it again. Ooh, there we go. This is a nasty win con. Whenever land you control enters, you may gain control of target creature for as long as you control this creature. And keep in mind that this creature is soon going to be a land. Snack ourselves, probably. This guy seems big. Feed the swarm. Ah, wait, so you goad it and then you destroy it. That's just mean. Okay, well, good news. We don't have to worry about decking anymore. Although, keep in mind, we can always create another moon. Because we can always use the Thespian stage, or like another Oculus. We can always use the Thespian stage to copy the Oculus moon. So, we have 9 mana right now. We could Royal Elemental, land, steal something, keep Wash Away and Stun Double open. I don't need Wash Away if I just kill the player to the top left. So why don't I start by doing that? As I don't want to see something like this again, right? It's just one of those things. If you showcase a card like this that just basically says nobody gets to play the game anymore, we're just gonna be in stasis. Then I'm just gonna kill you the first opportunity I get because, look, if you're not gonna let me play, I gotta get rid of you. So that makes things a lot easier. We'll play the Royal Elemental. We'll snack up the Kosei. Oh, we're doing something. What's that? Drawing. Okay. People don't remove Yue because she's just not a good removal target. She doesn't really kill you, you know? She doesn't really do anything. Right? This thing is gonna hit you for 10 damage. Yue doesn't do shit to you. We manifest red again. Etherize Aboleth Spawn. This card is so good in this deck as well. Like, we can create a land that copies all of our opponent's ETBs. What the fuck? No, this guy gives up. No! Ah, that's fair. I stole their commander, but I wanted to do something with it. All right, we got him. You. That worked pretty nicely. My personal version of the deck is kind of in between the two. So I don't play as much interaction as I put into the lists for you all because, you know, it's gonna perform better if there's a little bit of interaction in there. But my own personal list, because again, I want to really play it against precons, doesn't really play that much. So, you know, it's kind of like how I hold back, if that makes sense. But I've been having a lot of fun with it. However, I do also play like some pet cards that I didn't include in the lists. Well, one of them I did, which is the Aboleth spawn, which is really nice. I like Turian La a lot, a very fun card. And then also, I don't know, I just have to play this somewhere, right? Like Savor the Moment, Blue Explore, huh? I don't know. Point being, this deck is a lot of fun. It's become one of my permanent decks. I've been enjoying it greatly. It has replaced my Kiora deck, in case you're curious. I kind of played enough of that one. I enjoyed it. It was very, very cool. But eventually I got to the point where I'm like, I kind of want to use those cards for something else. So I built Yue and then I also built Toulouse. Although I don't think I'm going to make a deck tech about that one, even though that deck is a lot of fun to play. But it's not really like super crazy unique. Anyways, we'll see. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, links in the description. Please support me on Patreon. Please give the video a thumbs up. And I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.